Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching and being here. So the reason why I wanted to film today is because I would just like to talk with you about a couple of books that I read during quarantine. There are not a lot of books. I know that people have read more and people are reading more than I do, but I'm a slowly reader, so it is what it is. Yeah. So the first book that I would like to talk to you about is Master and Margarita. This is a story set on two different plans. First one, it's set in Moscow. I think it's 1930s, and this is a supernatural story. So we are introduced to this story by I think there are two authors, and they're talking about the meeting that they're supposed to have later that day, and during this time somebody starts talking to them, and this is none other than the devil. So the first plan presents the devil and his acolytes trying to get down the literary big names during that time, and the second plan it's set during Jerusalem, and this is showing Pontius Pilate and his struggle after the trial of Jesus. So these two plans, they come together in the end of the story when you see that the master, the guy that wrote the story about Pontius Pilate, it's meeting Margaret, which was his mistress at that time, and through the devil they managed to meet. And this is a really interesting story. I liked the ending very much and how it was placed together. So if you're looking for a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of supernatural, I strongly recommend you to read Master and Margaret, because it's a very cool story. So yeah, I would recommend you reading this one. The next book that I've read, and this is something that I went into thinking about Friends, and this is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Do you guys have seen Friends? I am a big fan of Friends, the TV show. I think I've seen it 10 times, maybe more, I don't know. Should I feel ashamed about this? Yeah, so do you remember that scene when Joey puts the book in the freezer, The Shining, because he's scared of it, and Rachel then recommends him Little Women because she loved it so much? So yeah, I started reading Little Women thinking about what she said to him about Beth dying. So basically this is a story of 4 sisters and their life and the friendship that they have with their neighbors, the older neighbor and his nephew. So it's a really interesting story. It's quite sweet, it's quite light for a classical book. I like this about, if you don't want to read the book, you can watch the movie. I haven't seen the movie. It's on my list, but for some reason I don't like watching the movie right exactly after I finish the book, and that's because I think it ruins the book for me, because the movie, it's never as good as the book. This is my opinion. I'm always the kind of person that reads the book before watches the movie. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I haven't watched this movie yet. I'm really looking forward to it because I like to see Emma Watson, and yeah, maybe I should watch it. I don't know. Anyway, the next book on my list, one second. Yeah, I forgot about this. One second. Yeah, so the next books on my list is Gone with the Wind. The more I think about it, the more confused I get. I loved these books. So basically, this is a story of a very vain, spoiled woman that is in love with a man that's about to get married. And just to spite him, she's getting married as well in just a couple of weeks. I think this is a story of 2 women. So this is how I see it. There are 2 different women in the story. So we have the whiny, spoiled Scarlett O'Hara that's in love with Ashley, and she's incredibly stupid. Like, I've never seen a woman worse written than this. I don't know how it's possible to make your main character become so despised and so awful, because she is the main characters of this book, and in the same time I would kick her in the head because she's so incredibly stupid sometimes. So this is the first woman that I see in this book. The second woman is a very strong-headed and a woman that always gets what she wants, and this is the Scarlet that we see during the war, when she comes back to Tara and she starts making a living and helping everybody survive during the war. So this is the second woman I see in this book. So I am a little bit conflicted. I like the second Scarlet, the strong one, but I just absolutely despise the first one. This is how I see things in my mind. Of course, there's just only one Scarlet. So yeah, the reason that I like these books is it's the relationship between her and Red Butler. Have you ever been in love with a character and wished that he was there with you and just be able to touch him and be friends with him? For me, this is Red Butler. I think it's a great written character. I like his character, his charm, his charisma, the way that he talks. I just like everything about it. I'm about to see the movie. I have it on my computer downloaded, but I haven't seen it yet because I would really like to see Clark Gable as Red Butler. He's such a charming man. Like, yeah, this is one of the reasons why I love these books, is the story and the character of Red Butler. I was reading through them wishing to see more of him. Now, the bad thing about these books is that this is a racist book. Like, I am privileged to say that I have never experienced racism. I live in a country where this doesn't really happen. But you can see from the beginning of the books that this is racist, and the comments that they're making and the way that the atrocities happening to the black people in America during that time, it's racist. So if you're looking for a good love story, yes, go into this book. The one book that I read that I forgot to put on my list is Women by Charles Bukowski, and this is a book about a guy that is obsessed. He's an alcoholic basically, and he's obsessed with women. He always has relationships, but they're failed relationships with strange women addicted to alcohol, addicted to drugs. Yeah, so this book, it's mostly about sex and how lonely this guy is, and he's trying to write, and he's not very successful. So if you're horny and you're looking for something to read, go into this. But to be honest, I don't remember as much about it, just the fact that it's a lot of sex here, so whatever you want. Okay, the most recent books that I have read are Life of Pi. In Life of Pi, it's a story about a boy. His name is Piscine Molitor Patel, and this is his story about, the first part is about him discovering religion, and he discovers 3 distinct religions: Hinduism, Christianity, and Islam. And he finds himself in all of these 3 different religions, and he talks with priests, and he loves these 3 religions. And it's interesting to see how the author placed, how this author created this character, because what I'm thinking when I'm reading about religion and things like this is that you can basically find God in any religions that you have, in any religion that you believe in. And this doesn't mean that your God is different from the other God. It's exactly the same thing. So we are all preaching the same thing, right? Love the person next to it, don't do harm. And I'm not a very religious person, but this is how I see things. Just believe in whatever you want, do whatever you want, as long as you're not harming anybody, whatever floats your boat, right? And coming to boats is the second part of the story. It's him living, he basically survives a shipwreck in the Pacific Ocean, and he lives for 227 days open at sea, and this is crazy. I don't think I would survive, but this is his story and his tiger, Richard Parker. If you would like to read, if you'd like to know who Richard Parker is, you have to read the story up until the end. It made me cry a little bit because it's so strong, and the message that he's trying to send, it's just, see, I'm a very emotional person, so I cry very easily. If I see a cute kitten on video, I start crying. Or even if I watch my cat sleeping, which he's sleeping now at the moment, I start crying. I'm such a wuss. Anyways, coming down into fantasy, one trilogy that I finished this summer is the Farseer trilogy. And this is a story about the bastard son of the Prince Chivalry, and he's raised by the stableman up until the age of 9 or 10, when the king gets an interest in him and he starts to keep him close to him, and he decides to train him as an assassin. This means that he's never gonna be able to betray the Farseer family, and he has to obey everything that the king says. But this develops so beautifully, and I love the character of Fitz. But in the same time, this book made me cry because it's so sad. You can feel Fitz's loneliness. It's palpable between the words, and I think this is a very hard thing to write about, being lonely and about loneliness. But Robin Hobb makes this so real. If you want to cry for a sad little boy, try the Farseer trilogy. And the last books that I have read during the quarantine last year was, I finished them last year, was the last 5 novels from The Wheel of Time. The story, it's set in a world where the women held the power, not the men. They were able to use magic. They were called the Aes Sedai, and they were able to use magic like spirit and water and wind and all of these elements, and they were able to create magic. But if you would like to know more about the Wheel of Time, and you would like to know more about people that actually are able to explain and talk about books better than I do, because I feel at this point that I'm not as good as talking about books as this guy are, I would strongly recommend you watching Daniel Greene and Nae Blis. They have amazing channels and they talk about the Wheel of Time, and just go watch them. And if you're interested in giving up maybe a year of your life reading these books, I would strongly recommend them because they're absolutely fantastic. I've read them once, I finished the books, and now I am listening for the second time to the audiobook. I like the audiobooks, so if you get to read the book listening to the audio, that is great because you can hear the names and the intonation and the way that they are pronounced, and I think that's great. Yeah, so these are just a couple of books that I read during quarantine last year. I know people read more than I do, but even if you are a slow reader and you only get to read 10 books a year, that's fine. You don't have to feel bad about this. And if people like to read 100 books a year, again, that's fine as well, but don't feel bad, okay? We're all in this together. So if you guys have any recommendation of books, fantasy books especially, please leave them in the comments down below. And thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for being here once again, and take care. Bye.